Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome back to the Bored to Death Bingecast. I am Jay Winger, being joined by
Chris.
Zeke.
And we are back for part 2 of our binge of Mobile Suit Gundam, the Whole Damn Saga. Back for part 2 of the original Mobile Suit Gundam series. When we left off after episode 5, the White Base and the Gundam had arrived on Earth, but in the wrong territory. So there's presumably going to be some drama related to that. I forgot to mention this in our last binge cast. One of the reasons I wanted to watch this series is because I write in my spare time, and I wrote a story based off one that a friend of mine online, Alan Craig, wrote way back in the day. His version of the story very, very clearly Gundam inspired, practically a ripoff in many respects. And when he abandoned the story, I took some of the ideas that he and I had discussed with it and tried to make the story different and take it in its own way. But I suddenly realized I don't know a whole lot about the mecha genre.
In general, or just Gundam?
Well, Gundam definitely in general with the genre, but it's like because Gundam is the one that almost everybody is going to think of when you say mecha. Most people are probably going to think of Gundam
Oh, Robotech.
or Robotech.
Yeah, Robotech is one of the well-known ones also.
Yeah.
But because of that, I figured I should probably watch the series so that I am aware of what the common tropes are and make sure that I don't rip off anything from Gundam. So that's one reason I decided to do this. And if you're interested in reading the story, I will provide a link to the story, which I put up on Fiction Press a few years ago, so you can check it out. But yeah, that's one reason I decided I should watch this series.
So I have a question for you, though.
Yes.
Are you going to wait until you finish all of Gundam before you continue?
All 500 hours.
Probably, I've been trying to work on the next installment of the story, but it's been stalled for a while. I've got a pretty good outline for it, but it's nothing for it is set in stone necessarily. I can always make adjustments to a lot of it as and when, because it's not officially like published to make money yet. It's just up on a free website right now.
It's essentially like your own mech series, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
Now another question for you is this, because at some point in time, I don't know when, so this isn't entirely set in stone, but at some point we are going to binge Neon Genesis Evangelion, the original one, the one with the sucky 2 last episodes.
If we do that, are we going to go over the new one as well?
We have to find out which streaming site has them.
Yeah, but at any rate,
But anyways, would you take anything from that too?
From Evangelion, possibly. From what I understand about Evangelion, it's a very different series. It's much more. Maybe I can't really say for certain, but
we're going to give him the brain cancer.
Well, like I said, whenever we do get to that, I gotta ask if whether or not we want to stick with the 2 last episodes, the ones that got aired, or are we skipping to the ones that were made, the ones that were supposed to have been made.
We'll tackle that. We'll tackle that when we get to it.
Like I said, when we get to it, we'll eventually get to it. But
it's pretty much what you're telling me is we gotta throw a lot more mech stuff in this genre for us. That way we can give them. Well, if we're doing that, we gotta do some Big O in there as well.
Well, there's one.
Big O is one that I would like to check out at one point.
There's one that you two like that I want to check out. You know exactly what I'm about to say. Genlock.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Zeke and I watched Genlock, and we both really enjoyed it. I know he did, especially. And I love it, and I love supporting all of Rooster Teeth's animation projects. So, and I'm very much looking forward to Genlock season 2. Hope it gets put up on HBO Max soon, when HBO Max launches next week.
How many people are going to plug in this episode? Just out of curiosity, we got HBO Max now.
We got My Story. We've got Rooster Teeth. We've got Genlock. But yeah, Chris hasn't seen Genlock. I think you might enjoy it.
I was told what it was like, and it has my interest right now, and I do want to watch it.
And that your interest in it is not solely because it has David Tennant in it.
No, it's based entirely on who you told me of who all is in it,
mm-hmm.
and who all was involved with making it and everything. And it turns out like, oh hey, these actors are also huge freaking geeks also. And it'd be interesting to watch. Like lately, I've been watching Code Geass, which is another
one that I need to check out. Alan, my friend Alan, he cites that as his all-time favorite anime. So
it has a kind of unique take on mech suits. It's kind of hard to describe what it is.
They're more like exosuits. Because I've seen like the first 2 episodes.
Well, no, I'm talking about the design.
Oh, the design.
Think mechs, like mobile suits, if they had the best way I can describe them are rollerblades on their feet.
Okay, yeah.
And they can go on like train tracks.
Hey, if we're going to do rollerblades, you got to do surfboards next.
I think that's been done.
No, it has been done. It's, oh, God. I'm drawing a blank again. There was an anime where aliens were around, and there was a mech with a surfboard who surfed the clouds, which looked like an acid trip kind of thing. It's kind of cool.
Street Sharks?
No, there was actually an anime, not...
Oh, okay.
The mech had a surfboard. I'll have to look it up before we come back for the next... I know it.
Yeah, or you can look it up while we're binging or something.
Yeah, before we come back, I'll look it up.
But we've been rambling now for more than 7 minutes, so we should probably just cut that now and get to the binge. So we'll be back. And we're back following the binge. Finished out disc 1 of Chris's copy of Mobile Suit Gundam. We'll pick up. Do you have the next disc already? Or?
Yes, it's 2 discs.
Okay, so that'll be in the next binge when that comes along. But I like that they're still doing their part to doing their work to show the aftermath of these battles. The civilians on board White Base getting restless, being stuck on the ship all this time.
Well, it doesn't help that a lot of them are old timers.
Yeah.
They're all old men. They are restless. They want to get off the ship because they are being tired of being cooped up on there.
I don't want to know what's going through the mind of the lady. It's like, I want to go to a place where I grew up from.
It's where her husband grew up.
That makes sense, but does she think it's still going to be there?
Yes.
During the war that's been happening for how long?
Well, the thing is that I imagine that news on Earth from the war, like, hey, this town got blown up or wiped out, the city got annihilated. I imagine a lot of times that's not going to reach the space colonies.
Yeah, that'll be below the fold if it even makes the front page.
Especially if it's like a small town, like a village. Nobody's really going to care about it.
Yeah. But as you were saying, old men, people getting tired of being cooped up and getting restless and staging protests. Does that sound familiar?
Very. But it was, peaceful ones. They're like, we just want to talk to the captain.
Yeah, they staged a little sit-in, on the bridge.
Yeah.
And some of them did manage to finally get let off the ship, but they still have a lot of civilians on board White Base. They keep making that plain that even though, we evacuated a bunch, there's still more.
Yeah, but I don't think they ever really said what happened to the colony. I think it was just badly damaged because of the battle.
Yeah, well, it did get... I know they did blow a hole in the side of it, so that probably caused some atmospheric leakage.
Yeah.
But regardless. But again, I like that they're still showing that. they touched on it in one episode with the war fatigue that Amuro is feeling from constantly having to be sent out into battle.
Yeah, a lot of people will probably look at it and like, oh, why is Amuro being a whiny little bitch? He's tired. He is fighting one battle after another.
And and they point out, it's like, well, and Ryu points out, we're relying on him too much.
In fact, I think when I was kind of showing where my dad saw a little bit of, what he was going through, and he said, "Yeah, that's war fatigue." My dad was a Marine back in the '60s. He did a tour in Vietnam, and so he probably saw a lot of it. Whether or not he experienced that himself, I never asked.
Yeah. They're showing that, and they're also showing some of the other fighters in the white base getting, well, mostly with Kai getting frustrated because Amuro gets all the attention, but then Kai is just a jerk face, something of a glory hound. He wants some of the recognition for himself.
You have two jerks in the ship.
I'm not going to say where this came from, but when Amuro first arrived at that colony with his dad, the school that Amuro went to, Kai was one of the students there, along with Hayato. Right. And Kai was actually a bully.
No kidding.
Well, to Amuro. He was a bully to Amuro because he didn't like the fact that, it was the typical thing where the bully's jealous of the smart kid because he's getting the good grades and everything.
He gets the recognition.
Yeah, and Kai's not really getting anything. And it's funny because when he finally gets into his first battle inside of a mobile suit, he panics and wastes all of his ammo.
I liked that too. I like that they're showing reality ensues. Yeah. Yes, this show might be dealing with space battles and fantastic technology like the Gundam, but they still try to keep it grounded in reality.
Yeah, well, that was the intention by Tamino when he did this, was he wanted to keep it as close to real, realism as possible. So
and it shows with all this stuff. It's like they don't have bottomless magazines. They there's war fatigue. There's the civilians caught in the middle who don't want to be on a battleship that's constantly being under attack.
Yeah.
They're showing their work with that, and I definitely appreciate that they're going to those lengths to do it.
I do wonder how much research they have, because a lot of this stuff is talking about battle situations and what the strategies would be. So when oh yeah, you want to go this low so we can do this and do this. There's a lot of bad stuff like that.
Yeah, they discuss some of the strategies that they're going for, and then the other side will recognize shortly into it, be like, oh, this is what the plan is. Char especially is constantly doing that. He constantly seems to suss out what the white base's strategy is meant to be.
Char has been doing this kind of stuff for quite some time. Even before the events of the show take place, he was doing a lot of stuff. Which you
because he's got that reputation going for him, as the Red Comet and so on.
Kind of a little bit of spoiler if I'm curious with this question though.
What?
Is Shaw a new type?
No, okay. He's just that good.
He's just that smart.
Yeah. Amuro is a new type. He's one of them.
Not yet though. He hasn't woken up yet.
Yeah, no. His abilities haven't awoken yet. They awaken later on.
Well, that's something for me to look forward to. You mentioned the whole new type thing, but I don't know the specifics, and I'll figure it out when we get there. But
one of the reasons I kind of laughed a little earlier was like, "You must be a psychic."
I can tell you this right now: the most powerful new type so far in the Universal Century is Camille Bidan in Zeta Gundam. He's actually the most powerful one. But it's been a while since I've seen Zeta, so I don't remember how he was the most powerful one.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Char, he, granted, yeah, he is greatly skilled as a pilot, And he also knows how. He's also a great strategist too.
Yeah, very much. I mean, we saw that in episode 10, right as we were closing the binge. He's a magnificent bastard. He completely set up Garma, who was like this rival of his from school. Yeah, they were sort of friends, but Char clearly didn't like him that much.
Char has a secret agenda. I'm not gonna go into it because that's gonna spoil things.
Doesn't every mega bad guy have a secret agenda?
Well, he has. There's an exact reason why he has his own agenda. I'm not gonna say why, but like I said, as the show goes on, you learn why he has this agenda against the Zabi family.
But this is like the first time we really see that he's got that agenda. Prior to this, yeah, okay, he sort of clashed with Garma about on stuff, but they were still working together.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in episode 10 it finally sort of came to the front that he's like, oh, I see a perfect opportunity to remove this asshole from my path, and Garma completely falls for it because he doesn't expect it to happen.
You gotta love the cockiness of him. As you're dying, I shall communicate and rub it in your face.
Yeah, basically, that's what put it over the top for me. That he's just a complete magnificent bastard.
And he tells Garma, blame this on the luck of your birth.
Yeah,
that's
for your father or whatever.
Yeah,
these last 5 episodes have been a lot more humanizing than anything else.
Yeah, like you see, one of the civilians that they drop off, going back to the woman who wanted to take her 4-year-old son to the place where her husband was born. When they finally get there, now mind you, they had to basically tell the Zeons hey, we have civilians that we need to drop off.
That we want to let off the ship.
So they sent a plane to go and keep an eye on them. And they see that the transport ship has a hole blown into it. They actually take a look inside one of the windows, and they do see the civilians in there. And when they did this fake crash landing and let the civilians out, one of the pilots on this Zeon plane also looked at one of the windows, sees this woman and her young child, and the kid is sitting there waving at the pilot. And he's like, "Oh, look!" And they wave back at the kid, and it's like, "Oh, see, they're not all horrible monsters killing people and whatever."
Yeah. Of course, the favorite is the Wink. I guess winked by the female character.
Oh,
and he
yeah,
starts blushing. He's like, "Oh, she winked at me."
His co-pilot. Yeah.
The old man.
The old man, Big John, I think was his name. Just sort of gives him this look like, you dumb idiot.
Because he squints at him while he's sitting there blushing oh. He
just looks at him like, what is wrong with you?
I will say that out of that whole episode, my favorite part was those two not dying.
Yes,
that would have killed everything for that episode, because when the White Base crew are essentially flying back on these jetpacks back to White Base because they had to abandon this ship of theirs, this transport ship, they flew back to that woman and child to drop off a supply capsule.
Because they had separated from the rest of the civilians.
Yeah. And, none, even Amuro, who was in the Gundam watching this, wasn't expecting that. He thought it was a bomb. He even aimed his beam rifle at it and everything. And then when he saw the parachute pop out of it, and then when it landed and popped open, a bunch of supplies fell out. He was like, oh, I was not expecting this.
Mm-hmm. And he still ends up having to shoot down the Zeon plane, mostly because the plane spotted him and opened fire.
Yeah.
So it wasn't for his one eye.
Glints.
Amuro even said, I wish you didn't see me.
Yeah.
And he shoots them down. They try to take control of the plane, try to at least get as close to the ground as possible, and end up doing a nosedive into a lake where they swam away. Mm-hmm. And the next time you see them is they're sitting there with that woman and her son, and she's bandaging them up, and they're watching the explosions from the nearby battle, saying, oh, I wonder who's going to walk away from this. And she says, and this goes with any other battle, whether it's movie, TV show, real life, it doesn't matter who wins. There's going to be wives without husbands and children without fathers now.
Yep.
I would say it's kind of ironic. They drop off medical supplies, stuff like that for them, and they end up using said medical supplies on themselves.
Well, they didn't think they were going to get shot down there because they just saw it was like, okay,
if they hadn't spotted the glint off of the Gundam's eye, they would have just flown back to their home base or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Go figure.
So amongst the episodes that you've seen so far, which one would you say is your favorite?
I would probably have to go with that episode right there, the Winds of War, with the mother and child and all that, because it comes down to humanizing all sides of everything, not just giving the protagonist side that humanization, but the antagonist side as well, because it sort of reminds you they're not all mustache twirling villains. There are genuine people in there who are just doing this because love of their country or whatever, and they're not doing it just because they want to kill and destroy things. And we got more of that humanization stuff in episode 10 with Garma. We get a whole lot more insight into his motivations and his character, and then they immediately kill him off in the same episode.
We didn't have the Romeo and Juliet story.
Oh, the Romeo and Juliet with him and Isolina. Yeah.
One dies, they both gotta die apparently.
Yeah, because the closing, because like the next time when
the preview for the next episode kind of spoilery on its own.
Well, it's like Amuro finds a woman pointing a gun at him. Who will survive? It's
Gun
like
versus the mech.
Gun versus Gundam. Who will win? Gundam will win. Gundam is.
I don't know how you guys are gonna feel with that next episode.
So here he is trying to spoil us on it.
No, that's as far as I'm gonna say, because I want to see how you guys react to it.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought she was the pilot of the very big mech suit that we see in the games that we played, that dies due to Amuro, but it's not her because she doesn't have purple hair.
No, I know who you're talking about, and that's Shars.
Going back to showing their work and everything, you mentioned it. I don't remember if it was in the first part of this, but right as we were getting started, you pointed out that the design of the colony, that the colonies,
yes,
is actually based on a legitimate thing, on a legitimate design.
Okay, so
picture up now, right?
Yeah, he's pulling it up on his phone. I did jot it down after you showed it to me. It's called an O'Neill cylinder.
It's called an O'Neill cylinder. I'm reading this off of Wikipedia, by the way. It's actually a space settlement concept proposed by American physicist Gerard K. O'Neill in his 1976 book, The High Frontier: Human Colonies in Space. O'Neill proposed the colonization of space for the 21st century using materials extracted from the moon and later from asteroids. And the way you see them designed in Gundam, or if in case anybody who hasn't seen the original one and you've seen Gundam Seed, the colony from the very first episode of that one, that's how they look, where they have the giant cylinders, they have the three mirrors outside that redirect sunlight into
the solar
the colony.
Panels sort of thing.
No, they're mirrors.
Oh.
That's all they are, is they're mirrors.
Oh,
makes sense. When they want, for nighttime, they just close. And to create artificial gravity, as they have a slow rotation going.
Yep. You see that a lot in various sci-fi things where they're not going to just do full-on artificial gravity. They have
like Star Trek.
There's always a ring somewhere spinning to make gravity.
Yeah.
I just rewatched it again last night, but in The Martian, the Hermes spacecraft that they used.
Yeah, there was a part of it that was spinning.
That was a part of it that was spinning, which was like the main habitat ring, as it were, of the ship. And yeah, it was rotating to provide something resembling gravity.
But yeah, and then you have like the three, because along with where the solar panels, the mirrors are best way I can describe them, big ass windows. But the parts, where the civilians and stuff are at, they look like, they're green, they have trees, they have cities houses, whatever. Essentially the same
Full
thing.
on simulated landscape kind of thing.
That's exactly how it is. Now you see another space colony type here, and that's the one where the Soto's Degwin Zabi is held up at, where it's completely closed off. Like they don't have the mirrors, but it has everything else in it. So it has artificial sunlight.
Is that the one with the guy who dropped the cane?
Yes.
Okay.
The sovereign of Zeon.
We're calling him the king of Zeon right now.
Sure.
But
suddenly I realized after seeing him at the end of that he was the portrait that I spotted earlier in the episode that I called Zavala because the colorization
He did
on
have a blue face.
he had a very blue face in that portrait.
Hold your breath while we take this picture. Well, what?
We are such idiots sometimes, but it's like I definitely broke you when I said that in the episode, and
Also, I hear the voice.
Zeke starts snickering to himself. He's
I
like,
hear
God
your
damn
voice
it.
in my head. I need more grenades.
No, that's Shax.
That's
I'm
right.
talking about the one voiced by Lance Riddick.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, there
Whether
is.
we wanted it or not, we stepped into a war with the Cabal on Mars.
So yeah, there is some actual science in this show.
And I appreciate that they're not going full on and explaining it all, but they're putting it there. And
the biggest one that they did there, because Amuro was granted, the first time you see he gets in the Gundam, it's in the colony.
Yeah, side
and
7.
then after that, all the fighting, bigger fighting that he does is all in space. And when he gets to Earth, the first battle that he has, the Gundam practically crashes into the ground.
Because he's not used to fighting with gravity.
He's not used to fighting with
falling.
Earth's gravity.
Earth's gravity or atmosphere either.
Yeah.
Because out in space it's a vacuum. You don't have the friction of atmosphere possibly slowing you down either.
So yeah, you definitely see that a lot. Like the first time Kai left the white base in the gun cannon, it lands on all fours.
Yep, and he's shooting his cannons while he's...
He is a cannon wreck, so he is using the cannon to full effect.
No. Remember when he
was down on all fours while his cannons were shooting off that way.
When he first left the white base, and the suit kind of like jumps out.
Face plants.
It essentially face plants into the ground.
Yep.
And the gun cannon is supposed to be like an armored tank almost, kind of not like the gun tank, but it's like it's got the most armor to it.
Makes sense given that it's a tank.
Yeah, and Kai's just like, "Hey, I landed." That wasn't a land. That was a crash.
I do have one question. Has the gun tank actually uses cannon arms? I mean, he uses the cannons, but you don't see his arms. They just sit
I
there.
think in one of the first battles it was actually doing it, but it was...
You do eventually see it. It's on one of the episodes of the next disc is when they introduce a character named Ramba Ral, who's another Zeon pilot. He's another one of the Ace Zeon pilots. You do see the gun tank doing that, and it's when it's with Hayato and Amuro in it again, because Amuro is trying to prove a point with using the gun tank.
Anything gun, I can drive it.
Is it Gundam technology? Then I can pilot it.
But what's funny is, sell toys, model kits, and all that. They start later on. They started making these new things that the Gundam can connect to, in terms of like when it doesn't need the legs.
Yeah, well, they even acknowledged that in the episodes we watched that Garma realized that the Gundam is essentially a modular thing.
Yeah.
That there's the core fighter, and that can plug into essentially the main Gundam body, or it can plug into the tank, or it can plug into...
See, that's something that I kind of wish that had happened, was like let's say the legs for the Gundam were damaged, and it wasn't able to connect with like the gun cannon's legs, which are a lot bigger, mind you, because again they're more heavily armored. Connected to the gun tank's treads.
So you want to build a gun tank Gundam with Gundam body and gun tank legs?
Yes, with the treads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I see where you're going with this. I like that. I like that idea too.
I just want to know what happens when you put the gun tank's core in the Gundam core. Does it work?
Probably.
Are we talking about the top half?
No, the flying half.
The flying half can be attached. Like those are multi-purpose. They can be attached.
The core fighter can plug into any of those things.
Yeah.
That's why it's called the core fighter.
They've only put blue with blue, red with red. They haven't mixed them up yet. So I was like,
no, they're both the same color. They're both red and white with the blue tip where the cockpit is.
I think he's right.
I swore I saw a red plane and a blue plane.
There was probably an animation error, or it's because like one was like further up close to like the viewer and one was more.
I would probably go more with animation error based on the time period of when this was made and the general style of it.
I did spot a few animation errors. Like at one point in time, when you see like the side of the Gundam, the chin, which is supposed to be red, was white. There was a scene, and I didn't know if either of you caught it, but it was when Amuro was first in the gun tank, and they had to go back inside White Base. When he was getting out of the gun tank, the body that he was getting out of was the Gundam.
I do think I saw it, but it didn't really click until just now. But yeah. Yeah, that sort of about sums up everything I've got for this binge cast. You guys have anything else you want to add?
We should probably name that anime that I was trying to talk about earlier.
Yeah, that's right.
So who wants to pronounce this? I can't say it to save my life.
Eureka 7?
There you go.
We'll just call it that because that's how it's spelled. That's how it's supposed to be pronounced. I don't care how the Japanese butcher it. It's Eureka 7.
You just made the Japanese crowd that we listen to very angry.
Apologies to any of the Japanese people.
Yes, we apologize to our Japanese listeners, both of you. But apologies in advance if we end up becoming more popular and we do get more listeners in Japan. We are not really that racist or big jerks. Well, we are that big of a jerks, but we're not racist.
We're the fun jerks.
Yes.
We're the ones that can make you laugh and offend you at the same time, and you'll still love us.
Or we hope you'll still love us. But that about sums it up, I'd say. So
yeah. All right. So, quick question for the both of you, since I know again this is the first time that you two are watching this one. I already know what happens because I've watched this over and over again. Is there anything that you're hoping to see?
I mean, I don't really have any real expectations because I'm not familiar with it to that extent. So I'm along for the ride. See where this goes.
I want to see the bigger mechs. I know they're coming. I've seen the game. I know they're coming.
You want the mobile armors.
I want those big boys. I want the big boy with the 2 legs that looks like a crab that shoots a cannon. A major laser death.
Giant enemy crab.
Best Big Zom.
Yeah, I want big boys.
Because Zeke is a big boy. Those are the only Gundams that will fit Zeke.
I can't fit in that small. Go give me that big boy right there.
That one does show up later on. But so you just want to see? You just like the mobile armors.
I want the toys. I want the cool toys.
We all want the cool toys.
I want more Gundams. I want to see the gun ball. I think the gun ball might be in this franchise.
You mean the ball?
Yeah, the ball. The ball.
Yeah, it is.
I want to see the little Zaku version of the ball because I think there's one of those.
No,
I want to see all of the mechs. There's your answer. All the mechs.
Because Zeke loves his mechs.
Yeah, dude,
Just one reason why when he heard about Genlock, he was 100% down for it because it was mechs.
You don't remember at MagFest a couple years ago when they had those mech pods? You got the most excited.
Oh yeah, those things I remember.
Yes.
If we ever get a chance to go back to MagFests, we're gonna do that now.
It was
3-man squad. Let's go.
It was fun, and apparently, one of our roommates was watching it. And he knew which one was in which suit, and he was like, "Yeah, you and Zeke were practically duking it out for the number 1 spot. It was like one of you was number 2, and then number 2 went back to number 1, and so forth and so forth. And I think I ended up taking the number 1 spot.
Because we started to see each other. I think we started going after each other constantly. I still have pictures of those. Those things are awesome.
Yeah.
It was.
So, but yeah, I think that about wraps it up for this week's binge cast. We'll be coming up on about 35 minutes, so good length.
Yeah.
So,
if there are which So tell us which Gundam series is actually your favorite, or Mechs franchise is your favorite one. Which one is your favorite Gundam series? Whether
Gundam
it's
series, Mech series,
That's
whatever.
just too
Yeah.
hard to pick. There's
Let-
too many mechs.
too many.
But so yeah, let us know what your favorite is down in the comments. We do read the comments, or at least I do. But so for Zeke and Chris, I'm Jay, and we'll see you at our next binge. Our next binge. Our next binge. Our next binge. Our next binge.